Welcome back to the second in our series on conceptual modeling using the ER diagram. This series of lectures is based on the textbook by El Masri and Navath, Fundamentals of Database System, 6th edition. So let's get started. In this series of lectures, we describe a sample database application called Company, which serves to illustrate the basic ER model concepts and their use in schema design. We list the data requirements for the database here and then create its conceptual schema step by step as we introduce the modeling concepts of the ER model. The company database keeps track of a company's employees, departments, and projects. Suppose that after the requirements collection and analysis phase, the database designers provide the following description of the part of the company that will be represented in the database. The company is organized into departments. Each department has a unique name, a unique number, and a particular employee who manages the department. We keep track of the start date when that employee began managing the department. A department may have several locations. A department controls the number of projects, each of which has a unique name, a unique number, and a single location. We store each employee's name, social security number, address, salary, gender, and birth date. An employee is assigned to one department but may work on several projects, which are not necessarily controlled by the same department. We keep track of the current number of hours per week that an employee works on a project. We also keep track of the direct supervisor of each employee, who is another employee. We want to keep track of the dependents of each employee for insurance purposes. We keep each dependent's first name, gender, birth date, and relationship to the employee. This slide shows how the database can be represented graphically using an ER diagram. Here you see the relation or the table containing the information about the employee, and these bubbles represent various attributes: the first name, middle initial, last name, birth date, full name, address, salary, so forth and so on. Here you see a relationship of the employee to the employee table. Essentially what this represents is the relationship between a supervisor and the employee table. Here we see another relationship. The employee works for a department. And here we see another relationship. An employee manages a department. Notice that the manages relationship can be assigned attributes, which means at some point in time, this relationship is going to be somehow converted into a table itself. Here you see a relationship controls between a department and a project. A department controls a project. You look at this diagram, we can see that a department can control many projects. That double line indicates, and also that N indicates that a department can control many projects. Look at it in the other direction. A project can be controlled by one and only one department. That's just what this graphical representation tells us. Here we see that an employee works on a project. It also suggests that an employee can work on many projects. And you look at this one in the opposite direction, you see that a project can be worked on by many employees. This suggests, and you see the M and the N here, this suggests a many-to-many relationship. Many-to-many relationships sooner or later have to be broken into separate one-to-many relationships, and this is done by creating another table. This double line indicates a identifying relationship. This identifies the employee to the dependent and vice versa. We see also that there is that this is a relationship between the employee table and the dependent table, and note the double underline for the dependent table indicating that it is a weak entity. It doesn't necessarily have a unique key of its own. Its primary key will actually consist of more than one of the attributes within that table. In other words, it'll be a composite primary key. A good example of a composite key in this case might be the name and the birth date. Those two values together would represent the primary key. Since we're about to go into a fairly detailed discussion of what each of these symbols represent, entities, relationships, attributes, and so on, why don't we stop here on this video? We haven't declared a mystery word yet, and we're ending on a picture of an ER diagram. So let's make ER diagram our mystery word, and then go out and check your knowledge on the material covered in this video. And when you're ready, come on back and we will go to video number 3 in the series, where we'll go into some detail about the various elements that make up the ER diagram.